What's good, everybody? Welcome back to the Life of Champ podcast, episode number 54. Talking about a bunch of different topics today. We got a lot to unfold. So, just to introduce my grandma. This is
Well,
my grandma right over here. Um, one of the most smartest people I've ever met. One of the most women filled with wisdom that I've ever met. For the people that do not know you, grandma, go ahead and introduce yourself.
I guess you could say I'm Grandma Letty.
There you go.
Um,
Grandma in the house. Yeah. Shout
yeah,
out to Bree.
you
Shout out
know
to
it.
KJ.
I'm also a mom.
There you go.
I'm an aunt, sister, mentor. Um, I'm basically whatever you need me to be. Great friend. I really do enjoy helping people. So I guess you could say, meeting people, helping people, being around people, inspiring people, and being inspired by people. That's that's what I'm about.
That's Gio right there. Shout out to Gio.
Mhm.
What's good, everybody? What's good, man? So obviously she does it all, fellas. She does it all. Fantastic woman. So we're gonna go ahead and get started. Also, if you have any questions or any topics that you want us to cover, make sure to go and leave in the comments as well. We're gonna go ahead and get into our topics right now. All right. All right. So for the first topic, I have a question for you, Grandma.
All
This is
right.
something that I've been thinking about for a while now, and this is something that I referenced in an earlier podcast. And quite frankly, I didn't see anyone. I couldn't think of anyone, and I didn't see anyone comment any specific people that this applied to. So I wanted to get your opinion because I feel like you can give us an insight that not many people can give us, and I just want to hear your opinion on it. So the question I have for you is, why is there a lack of admirable women within today's society?
Mm, that's a good question. I would say that it really comes down to the substance of a woman, the quality, where she's at in her head. Because I think a lot of times what I'm seeing is that the music industry, obviously movies, pretty much everything around society is basically making women feel like they have to put on this persona and they're not being real anymore. It's almost as if women have conformed to being, how can I say, they're mediocre. They're
Mm,
just there's no substance, no quality, no thought process. Um, and it's all about them, but at the end of the day, they really don't have a whole lot um, to bring to the world, to society, to anybody. They're pretty much locked up in themselves.
Basically, what Grandma said is they're mid, and you had a lot of great points right there, Grandma. You had a lot of great points right there. I would say that there is a flaw within the inputs that they intake on the daily. This is something that I reference in other podcasts as well. Um, Men know what women want, right? They know the type of man, the type of qualities that it would take to make a man attractive, and I feel like women do not know the qualities in which would make men attracted to them. And if you observe society, at least this is my perception of society. Um, like I said, men have always become what women want, and women are becoming what society tells them to be. But what is exactly society telling them to be?
Shallow,
Shallow. Okay,
shallow.
why you say that?
Uh, Again, because women these days, and I can't say all women. Obviously, there's many women of substance, many intelligent women, and many women that really know what they want out of life. But I'm speaking more towards the younger generation now that's being kind of formed by society. They're kind of being molded this way, where again they just are out for the moment. They live for the moment. There's no forethought of the future, no preparation. When it comes to thinking of a partner, it's like um, it's a temporary thing. It's like, yeah, oh, I got a boyfriend today. When I get tired of him, I'll get rid of him. Next.
Yeah, and yeah, that's kind of how it is, right? I would say more now than ever, people are more replaceable than they've ever been.
Very much so.
And on top of that, we can kind of get into the dating aspect of this, right? So you have a dating element. I know you're you're in a very in tune person, but I'm going to give you the perspective that I see within dating right now. So um, I would say even average looking women get plenty more attention than the average man nowadays, um, via social media, dating apps, whatever it may be. Um, the average woman, let's just say you're a good looking man who has his life together, and you're an average looking woman. I would say for the most part, the average looking woman still gets more attention than a man that built himself up, and that is because of whatever reason that you would like. But that abundance of attention makes, well, obviously attention meaning more meaningless, right?
Hmm.
And on top of that, you're easily replaceable. If a girl's talking to you, this is what I see, right? If a girl's talking to you, this is something that I've seen plenty of times and plenty of personal experience. If you try to hold them accountable in a situation where they need to be held accountable, they would rather leave the situation entirely and try to find a new person because you're that replaceable, instead of actually having to develop the quality of their character and being able to take accountability.
Well,
What do you think about that?
definitely. Well, definitely. I really see that people these days, they really don't want to be bothered. There's no sense of commitment for sure. Um, and I think that those two elements alone really do demonstrate how society is failing right now, big time, because the family unit is suffering because of that. Number one, there really is a decrease in population right now. Um, and I know probably in the future we're going to be looking at test tube babies, and I'll just pick one when I want one, because it's getting to the point where,
Oh my God, go ahead, girl, go.
well, like kind of like what you're saying. For a woman, it's like, men are disposable. And men, I would say, they do try to get a woman of substance, of quality. Um, but unfortunately, sometimes, again, it comes down to a lot of these women being so shallow that they're all into themselves. And at the end of the day, it's like they don't have time to feed into a relationship or to give quality time to someone who probably needs them, even a friend, because they're just so wrapped up in themselves.
So would you consider that to be selfish?
Very much so.
Why is that?
Very much so, because I mean, I think that it's important to consider the self. We have to love ourselves, take care of ourselves, and at the end of the day, love ourselves more than anybody else. Because at the end of the day, if nobody loves you, at least you still love yourself.
Exactly right.
Okay? But again, nowadays, even love is something that is out of the question. I don't want to say that there isn't
Shout out to Tata.
love. Oh, hey. It's not that there isn't love, there is love. But again, it goes back to the lack of commitment to the self, you know, and to others in a relationship. It doesn't matter if it's, you know, parent, child, friend, whatever. You have to feed those relationships. You have to be present. You have to be a part of that.
Hmm.
You have to engage in that. You have to really, really give of yourself. And, you know, self is important, but being selfish, that's another thing.
That's another thing. I would agree. And another thing I want to mention, this is something that I read in the Seven Habits of Highly Effective People.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's what it's called, right? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Um, one of the things that they talked about, which I can kind of see tie in within today's society, is which goes back to the topic of women, right? Um, there's this sense of independence you see in women that isn't interdependence, and I feel like men are definitely more interdependent focused. And for the people that do not know what interdependence is, it's saying that in a relationship sense, it's basically saying, you know what, I'm good by myself, but I'm going to sacrifice and do what it takes to maintain something that is greater than myself and bigger than myself, which is the start of a family unit. And if you have a lacking family unit within society, you have a lacking society in as an entirety, right? So,
Hmm.
with that being said,
Well,
that's something that you can't have. And the question I have for you as well, which is totally off topic, but why do you think that is, Grandma?
well, I think part of it is being clear on the gender roles.
All right, fellas, we're
Okay.
getting into it, fellas.
Um, you find men that really aren't up on top of their game. They have no clue where they're headed. Their finances are in shambles. Um,
Shambles,
they're
shambles.
they're going from one job to another. Um, they're just playing the field, and then they meet a girl, and they still want to play the field. So to me, the gender role thing is, if you're a man, okay, what does it mean to you to be a man? And if you're a woman, what are you all about? Okay, you have to be very clear. And I mean, being clear on gender roles is so important, because even if we were looking at, let's say, gay couples, gender roles, the identification of gender roles have to be clear there too. Okay, so ladies, gentlemen, what are you about? Where are you at personally? Before you can enter any kind of relationship, look at yourself. What are you bringing to the table? When I talk about women, I have to obviously start with myself, right? What am I bringing to the table? What am I willing to do? What is it that I'm supposed to be doing? Am I clear on that? Okay? And this is for men and women. You have to ask yourself all these questions, and you have to be clear,
Mm.
because if not, you're off to a bad start.
I would
As
I would definitely agree. I would definitely agree with that. Um, Man, that's so much game right there. So much game. Yeah, you definitely have to hold both genders accountable. I definitely agree. The family unit is lacking because both are not um, they're not playing their role correctly, right? And even talking about roles in today's society is controversial, Grandma. Believe it or not, people get canceled for talking about roles and how a woman should be or how a man should be. People are their reputation is um, definitely changed because they have views like that, and it's not even exactly a man and a woman thing. What it comes down to, I think, is energetically speaking, like masculinity and femininity. I feel like obviously there's certain roles that you would attach to masculinity, and there's certain roles that would attach to femininity, right? And even saying that nowadays is kind of controversial because you have a uh, large group of women that would disagree with that statement and say, you know what, I'm independent, I'm my own woman, I'll do what I want to do whenever I want to do it. Instead of saying, you know what, this needs to be done, this part of the relationship needs to be focused on, and it's being neglected. I need to focus on that, right?
Definitely. And
Yeah, that's
and and I mean, that's what it is. It comes down to that. You have to be clear. Yes, you, like I said, you have to take care of you. You have to do what you have to do. If you have to work, well, then you have to work. But if I was looking for, you know, the perfect job or the perfect career, then am I going to involve all of me into that? Because if that's what I'm going to do, then that's what I have to pursue, because that doesn't leave much room for developing a relationship and just really nurturing that relationship, and or a family for that matter. If you have children, you really have to be so careful about what you do, because if you're pursuing too many things, you're trying to juggle all the balls, and sooner or later, the balls are going to start falling.
I agree with
Okay?
you.
Because you can't juggle like that. And I know for us women, we tend to think that we are super women, that we can do it all. And who knows? Maybe sometimes we can.
Shout out
But
to GDP. Shout out to
but
GDP.
but you can't do it forever. There's going to be times where you're going to be tired, where you just can't give all that you'd like to give because you're trying to give in too many places. So you have to identify what's going on in your life and what's lacking so that you can focus your energies and your time and your dedication to that, whether it be family, or your relationship or whatever. That's what it requires.
Yeah, for sure. I definitely agree for sure. And I keep saying that because I do agree. I do agree entirely, right? Um, but okay, Grandma, if you could explain shortly
Hmm.
the role of a man that a man's supposed to play, or the masculinity is supposed to play, what would those? What maybe a few things? What
Well,
are they supposed to fulfill?
um, well, hopefully he's a good provider.
Okay.
Okay. Hopefully he's also someone who uh, can take charge of matters, who has a good head on his shoulder, who is very clear on what his goals are, what he wants to do. Um, and if he's in a serious relationship, hopefully he has that helpmate who supports him and who values what he's trying to do. Because I think a lot of times also when women are sometimes so wrapped up in themselves, they forget that even a man needs to feel appreciated and valued. I think all of us do as people,
Oh yeah, for sure. 100%. I agree.
as a whole. We all deserve to be valued,
I agree.
okay? But I think I don't see a lot of that anymore, and it really is sad that, you know, respect um, and consideration and just all those little things are just lacking now. It's like we're just moving so far away from that. It really is sad. And again, society is demonstrating just how much a lack of respect for the self and for others,
Mm.
and that consideration towards others. And I can't say everybody, you know, but you see so much of it that it really is sad. And I think I say it from a person who's of age now, who has seen, you know, who has seen so many generations now.
Shout out to Eric. I appreciate you for stopping by, my guy.
So, yeah, this is what's going on right now. But definitely, I think people need to be valued. They need to be heard. They need to be respected, especially in a
I agree.
relationship.
And then another thing I want to mention, because I feel like this would be like kind of playing the devil's advocate, right? For the people that would say that this is an older paradigm, and I feel like that is something that could easily be misconstrued. Um, the people that, like I said, when let's just say for example, right? She's spitting some truth. No, exactly. That's all she spits, fellas. That's all she spits. So when it comes to when I speak on these topics, being a person who's obviously younger in society, a lot of what I have to say kind of goes against the way the social programming essentially, right? And where am I going with this? It kind of goes against social programming. So when you give that your perspective, are you coming from like a modernized perspective? Or are you coming from a an older paradigm? Because, like I said, a lot of people, some people watching this could misconstrue this to be a older paradigm.
Well, you know, being someone from an older paradigm, there has to be a paradigm shift
Exactly.
towards looking at the reality of what's going on in society. And like I
Okay.
said, I'm coming from a perspective from seeing so many generations come up,
Hmm.
okay? And just seeing how those transitions have happened. And I kind of get to see the good and I get to see the bad. And, you know, I think at the end of the day, I think it's so important for us to just stop and think about where our world is really heading. Because when we start looking at all of the things that we're being
Bombarded with.
bombarded with, I mean, it's everywhere. Everything is, it's, people are disposable. we're not really that needed as much as people think. You know, I think as time goes on, they're just going to start getting rid of some of us because I think as we get older, a lot of the younger ones, and I have to say, Champ, I don't know how many actual young people take the time to sit down with older people to really talk to them and listen to what they have to say, because I think when you get some of the younger crowd with the older crowd conversating, you realize that there's a lot to share and there's a lot to learn. And I say this because I've learned so much from you. I've
Appreciate it.
learned so much from Damien, from Brianna, even from Andrew. Surprisingly, I mean, he is just amazing.
Shout out to
So
Drew. Shout out to Drew.
yes, so I mean, I think that we're all in a position to learn from each other.
Hmm.
I myself am constantly learning every single day, every single day, and I learn from the younger people.
There you go. I like I said, we all have something to learn from all the generations, right? And along with that, I feel like the reason why the younger generation doesn't take the time to sit down with the older generation is because I feel like, as a young person, I can totally see them writing off an older generation. Oh, you don't know. You don't know the way society is right now. So let me go ahead and write off your entire perception because you live in a completely different world. Which I can see that to an extent, but you need to figure out why or what is needed within society, kind of like what you were talking about. For example, the reason why I personally like more traditional values is because it works. It's practical, it works. Have you seen any relationship that has something other than traditional values that's lasted throughout the years? Quite frankly, I have not seen that very, very much. Majority of the relationships that I've seen that have lasted throughout the years have more traditional values, and those traditional roles kind of go hand in hand with that. Along with that, isn't there the man can't move outside of his role too much. Let's keep it 1,000, right? Because for example, if somebody breaks into the house, who's going to handle the business? The masculine energy, the man more than likely, right?
I,
There's
I
certain
would say more than likely, yes.
exactly. So there's certain set roles for men, and with that being said, you see in today's society, there's not a lot of there's women combating that. Hey, I do not want to be confined to this box and doing these roles. I want to be my own person, kind of like what I was talking about earlier. But to those women that are try to defy the roles, either the natural roles or the roles that are trying to be put on them, they're being very, very resistant with having these roles in general. But like I said, a lot of those women expect a man to do and fulfill a certain role. But when you come to talking about, hey, well, I'm gonna play my role, I'm gonna play well, but I want you to do these things. They can't handle that nowadays. For example, right? If I'm willing to put my life on the line for you, there's some sacrifices and things that you're going to need to do in order to fulfill my life best way you possibly can. And whether it could even be a little thing. Like for example, I seen. We'll just use this example, right? This is terrible. I'm going to use it because I think it's relevant, right? For example, let's say making a sandwich or making food, dinner, whatever it is, right? If I'm willing to put my life on the line for you, the least you could do is help me out in an area that I need, which might be being fed.
Right.
And that shouldn't be a ridiculous ask.
Well, no. And again, I think it goes back to um, just being very clear on your role in the relationship, male or female.
I agree.
Just, what are the expectations? That's another thing. You have to be clear on what the expectations are coming into a relationship.
I agree with that. I agree with that. Let me read some of these comments real quick, Grandma.
Hmm.
Here's one thing. This is Eric. Hold up. Opinions are formed too fast. They hear one thing and they run with it. No researching for themselves. I agree with you. That has been very, very prevalent within today's society. Um, they're not very, very research savvy. They don't put the time in. I'm a person who does research on the opinions that I have. I'm not going to come up on here and just spew out a bunch of garbage that has no solid foundation for why I believe that. That's kind of why I started this podcast, is because I'm a well-researched person. When a man is honorable and a good leader, it's easier for everything to flow. I agree with you. Um, that kind of goes back to the roles. Another thing I want to mention is this, Grandma. Right now, femininity has such a weak look in today's society. Um, what do you think about that? Because that is something that is true. Whether anyone would like to admit it or not, I will be the one to say femininity has a weak look. And if you try to say, hey, girl, I'm talking to, I would like you to play your feminine role. It's like, are you really putting me down right now? Like, they look down upon that, and I'm like,
Well,
wait a second, something's not right here.
yeah. And again, when a male is talking to a female, first of all, if he's looking at her with interest as far as wanting to start a relationship, I get it. You have to look good. Okay. Both parties want to look good for the other party. Huh, that works. You know,
Hmm.
who doesn't want somebody to look good? But is that all there is? And I say this because I have seen some people that are drop dead gorgeous on the outside. They're they're just so good looking, but there's nothing inside.
Yep.
What's inside is very flawed. Their their views of what their femininity should be like for a woman are so flawed these days.
Why is that?
I think it's because they want to fit this look. Oh, I have to look the part. Um, I have to be beautiful. I gotta be a real go-getter. Like I'm great at my job. I earn all this money. Um, I ride this beautiful car.
They can eat all the makeup they want. It still won't make them pretty or inside pretty. Yeah, I
Yeah,
agree. I
and
agree.
unfortunately, it's true. There's a lot of people that way. They're beautiful on the outside, but what's on the inside is so flawed, really. And I think it's because of all of the things that they're being bombarded with. Again, music, the stereotypes on TV,
Reality TV plays a
movies,
huge
yeah,
role.
movies. I mean, there's just so many things out there. Um, so women, I think a lot of times now, I see it in the younger women more so. They just really want to play the role of I'm self-sufficient. I don't need a man. And if I have a man in my life, he's still disposable. Um, that's just the way it is.
Yep, that is exactly the way it is. There's no counter argument that's relevant to that. Honestly, there's really not.
Yeah, and it's sad to see this. It
Yeah,
really is.
I agree. And there's a lot of women that think that their looks can just carry them, which it does. They still get a lot of attention because of their looks. Um, but yeah, they're lacking substance, kind of like you had mentioned earlier, right?
Oh
They
yeah,
they lack the substance element.
it goes back to what you were saying. I mean, especially nowadays, like social media, right? You have all these nice little filters, and so, these women could look drop dead gorgeous. I mean, you put it on social media, and it's like, whoo, she's like this, she's like that, and ooh, look this and look at that, and then you meet her, and I say this because nowadays they have all these dating sites. And they type in all this wonderful thing. Oh, I'm adventurous. I'm this. I'm that. I'm a great cook. I'm like, woohoo. And then when they go and actually meet these people, they're like, okay, this is not what you said. This is not
It's not.
what.
It's
This
called
is not what
catfishing,
you.
grandma. It's called
Yeah,
catfishing, grandma.
it's not what they portrayed themselves to be.
Exactly.
And so now here they are meeting one another, and they're like, no.
It ain't adding up. It ain't adding up,
It's
right?
not. It's not. And whether they find each other on a dating site or just casually, again, you see somebody who, ooh, I want to go and meet her. I want to go talk to her. And she's like, ooh, he looks good. Ooh, he's approaching me. Ooh, I think he's gonna come and talk to me. And then they start talking, and it's like, okay, what do we talk about now? Because we want to talk about the self. Oh, well, I like this and I like that. And he's like, well, yeah, and I got this really nice car, and yeah, I'm the head of my corporation, blah blah blah. And then at the end, they really meet each other, and he's a janitor somewhere, and I mean, it's just because people do tend to over exaggerate, I think, sometimes, because they're trying to fit a certain criteria. And it's made up, of course.
Yeah, for
And,
sure.
and I'm just saying this because I've seen that dating is so different now from what it used to be when I was growing up.
Definitely way different.
It,
Way
it
different.
is. There's so many different ways that people are meeting up. They have these, single socials. And like I said, they have social media. They have dating sites. There's just so many different ways that people are meeting each other. But again, it's all superficial. Um,
Exactly. That is one of the things I recently had a podcast about that talked briefly about dating apps and stuff like that and kind of the role it plays within today's society. And yeah, it makes you really be a superficial person. You're judging a person based off of, oh, their height. That is something that you see a lot. If a guy doesn't meet a certain height on a dating app, they're not even going to get attention, and it's because it's
Very true.
superficial. Now, if that man approached you in person and was one hell of a character, was confident, a lot of women would give him a chance. But since he's on a dating app and doesn't fulfill your height requirement, you might not even give him a chance, right? We got 9 people in here. I appreciate everyone for stopping by. Make sure you go ahead and leave a comment if you are in here. And if there's a topic you want us to talk about surrounding this, make sure you go ahead and leave a comment about that as well.
Thanks, everyone.
There you go. There you go. And then I thought this said the younger generation is lacking respect. I hate to say instead of trying to talk to the older generation and they would rather disrespect them. I see it all the time, and that's from lack of self discipline or lack of discipline rather. Um, yeah,
Yes.
there's definitely a lot of truth within that foundation right there.
Yeah, and exactly, and that's pretty much what I was saying. That I mean, you see so much of this lack of respect, and again, it starts with lack of respect for the self. That's where it all starts. It really does start with you personally. What are
Hmm.
you? What are you all about? What are you putting forth? First of all, who are you? Do you even know who you are? Do you know
Yeah.
where you're headed? Like, there's so many things that I think sometimes people just don't even think about. And they're going through life basically bumping into walls because they're not clear on which way they're headed.
Yeah. Here's another thing I would say, just to add on to that, right? The reason why I think that is the way you explained it, right? It's very easily to get distracted in today's society. Obviously, there's plenty of distractions, social media, your phone being the biggest distractor that you possibly have.
Mm-hmm.
It's very easy to not focus on the self. It's very easy to, like I said, fall into temptation or fall into short term pleasure, whatever form that may be. A lot of people they're not very introspective. I'm a person who's really really introspective. I do a lot of I do grandma. You know this. I do a lot of self work, and anyone watching this
Yes.
podcast, you know what I'm talking about as well. Eric said, "If you don't love yourself, how are you going to love someone?" Exactly, I agree with you. GDP
Definitely.
said, "I'm already voting on a second show with Grandma." Of course, Grandma's going to be
Oh,
on plenty and plenty of times. The podcast that I have, that I want to do, you guys can let me know if you want to hear these. I want to eventually do it. I want to do a podcast with Grandma and shout out to D. I want to do that one for sure. I want to do one with me, Grandma, and Drew. It
yes.
would be a fantastic podcast, and I definitely got to get one with Grandma and Bree as well. Those are the three. Those are the three I want to have with Grandma. I want to do those by the end of this year. So those are going to be three podcasts of the. I'm on episode number 54. I'm looking to do about 88 this year. So within the next 30 podcasts, I'm hopefully gonna have those three right there.
Well, I'll definitely be looking forward to that.
There you go. Yeah, yeah.
I gotta say it's a real honor to be here, champ. I've watched so many I mean, pretty much all of your, episodes, and I love all of them.
I
I mean, I
appreciate
think
the.
that the things that you talk about are really needed. I
Thank you.
think you talk about things that a lot of people don't talk about, or at least you give them things to think about,
Thank you very much.
so that will help to open up their mind and help them to get some direction,
Yeah,
get clear. And again, just because I really think that knowing yourself, knowing that you're a person of quality, that you love yourself, that you respect yourself, and that what you're bringing forth to the world, to society, is a beautiful person.
thank you. I
Not
really
only
appreciate that.
just a beautiful person, but an intelligent mind,
Thank you.
a human being who is ready to give of himself and share that, you know. And I think a lot of the younger generations, as well as my generation, um, the older generation can use a refresher, okay,
For sure.
and I think that the younger generation can use the insight.
Yeah, for sure. I would definitely agree. I definitely want to give out as much wisdom as I possibly can on these podcasts. Of course, it's not always going to be surrounding just giving advice and things like that. I also want to do more entertainment and stuff like that. Like I said, if you're watching this and you want me to talk about a specific topic, I would definitely heavily take it into consideration. But yeah, you hit around the money. That is pretty much my intention of this podcast.
Hmm.
I appreciate the very very kind words.
Oh, well, it's my pleasure. Like I said, I think just looking at today's program, I think we've kind of covered a lot. But I think, just to put it all into perspective, I think for women, um, I have to say, love yourself, be the best that you can be, um,
Exactly.
give the most beautiful thing that you have, and that's your heart. If you're mentoring someone,
Exactly.
yes. Um, if you're working with people, whatever role you're in, um, always put the best part of you forward. Male, female, doesn't matter. Remember, I think being very clear on your gender role is so important, so that you can become the best uh, man or woman that you can be. That really is the most important thing, because our society right now is suffering because so many people have gone astray, again, because they lack the focus of where they're headed.
Lack direction. Exactly. They lack
Yes,
direction for sure.
for sure. So yeah.
All right. So yeah, that was one question. It kind of went long, and it honestly covered
Yeah.
majority of what I had um, thought about for this episode.
Okay.
But yeah, going back to the first topic that we talked about, I just
Okay.
want to finish up that thought real quick.
All right.
Um, yeah, we both came to the conclusion that so just if you're watching this and you came in a little bit late, the first question that I asked was why is there a lack of admirable women in today's society? We kind of went over that. It kind of goes back to what she was saying, a lack of direction. The
Lack of
social programming is
substance.
obviously flawed to an extent, and outside of beauty, realistically speaking, do women nowadays have a woman to look up to that is ideal, that is living an ideal life? Truly, I would say definitely not. What do you think about that?
Well, that's why I said when I first started, I'm a mentor.
There you
Because
go.
I really believe that as older women, uh, it's our duty to help younger women um, to get clear on where they're headed. They need to understand that we bring so much to this life.
So much.
We we are the heart of a relationship. We are the ones that can make or break a relationship, because we can either learn to um, accept people for who they are, which nowadays I think a lot of times people are not so accepting. That's why they dispose of people.
Mm-hmm. For
But
sure.
I think as women, I think that, I think of people that I admire, women that I admire personally. I admire people like my daughter Lisa.
Shout out to
Um,
mom. Shout out to mom.
I have to say that she really does every single thing that she can do, um,
Shout out to mom
in
again.
all of the roles that she has to play. And I know that for a lot of women out there, they are playing so many different roles. Um, and that's why getting clear, actually having a mentor, an older person, a older woman who can uh, guide them, answer questions for them, because a lot of the younger women too, sometimes they have answers. That us older women have questions too, because, like I said, I learn also from the younger generation.
A lot of the older generation are not like you though, Grandma. There's a lot of closed minded older the older generation. Obviously, a lot of them set in their ways, not willing to learn, not willing to be malleable. That is kind of the perception that the younger generation has. I'm sure you knew that and
Yeah,
kind of felt that same way about the older generation of your time, right?
definitely, definitely. And again, I think that's why there isn't so much conversation between the younger generation and the older generation. But like I said, I feel that for women my age, we do have a responsibility to the younger women in society to be role models, and to help them, to guide them, to teach them. And I think for men as well, you know, looking at, your grandfather, your father, what are the good qualities that they possess? Because you know what, at the end of the day, we all have great qualities. We really do. But a lot of times, even for ourselves, we don't take those into account, but I really think that, again, it goes back to, can we just have some dialogue here? Can we just sit down and, for the younger generation, listen to some of the older stories that we talk about back in the days,
Back
back
in the
in
days, fellas.
back in the days. When you hear someone say, well, back in the days, this is what was going on. Pay attention. Pay attention, because young and old have a story. The older ones only have more.
Hey, that's no. She's spitting facts. She's spitting facts as usual. I keep saying that because she's being grandma. She's being grandma. Simple as that.
Can I
Uh,
say?
One other thing I want to kind of get into, which is kind of something we talked about, but it's something I had written down as well. This kind of goes back to the dating kind of realm. Um,
Mm-hmm.
you're a person who was giving advice, relationship advice. I don't know how many years ago, but you were a person that did that, right?
Yes.
So for the people that don't know, go ahead and fulfill them on that, and then I'll get into my point.
Okay. Well, I used to work as, I guess you could say, I did social work for a while, for at least a good 10 years, for Maricopa County. And during that time, I actually did a lot of work with families, and also with a teen group called Project Challenge. And one of the things that I used to do was I used to teach life skills. And in
Mhm.
doing so, we would cover a lot of topics. And one of the things was relationships. So, in the classrooms, I would have a lot of people say, yeah, well, baby mama, she doesn't let me see my kid. You know, girls saying, oh, the baby daddy, he's just a deadbeat.
Couldn't be me.
I don't even want him around my kid. But
Couldn't be
yet,
me.
but at some point, they got along, but then all of a sudden now they can't. I think what it is a lot of times is that, number one, when you're extremely young and you're trying to do things that adults do and you're not ready to be an adult, that in and of itself is a problem.
I
Okay.
agree. I agree.
And I say that it's teenagers, because a lot of them are teenagers, the ones that I was dealing with. They were 14, 15, 16, 17 years old, and they were playing house. That's all it was. They were playing house. Oh, I'm the mommy now because I'm pregnant. Oh, well, that's not my kid. How do I know that's my kid? Well, no, yeah. Yeah. You're the daddy. Okay. Well,
Tough.
things happen. Things get out of hand. Again, the whole gender situation is not clear. Nobody knows who's doing what. You know, a lot of the younger generations that I was dealing with at the time, um, they didn't have a clue what was really going on. They were just pretending to be somebody that they weren't. They were trying to be, like, let's say the girl was trying to be the significant person in this man's life. And before you know it, she's pregnant. Now she's got to play the mommy role, and she doesn't have a clue.
Yeah, he barely knows how to play the role of the kid, honestly. But that's kind of off topic. But the question I wanted to ask you surrounding all those life skills, is outside of the abundance of options that is obviously relevant within today's society. Why do you think a lot of people, you know, struggle to maintain a relationship or maintain a marriage? What are some of the, if you can give me like three big reasons why they're incapable of um, maintaining a long term relation? What is usually the issues that kind of can stem from?
Well, I would say the biggest issue that I see, again, is not being clear on the gender role.
Yes.
Okay.
So,
Number two,
well, I'm sorry to cut
okay.
you off, but this is something I just thought about. I wanted to talk about it. So, I feel like it's saying gender role is a very touchy subject. It's very touchy in today's society. The way I'm gonna try to phrase it from now on is play your role. Whatever you
Okay.
want to play your role, and just know that there's going to need to be a counterpart because you can't have two of you, right?
Right.
So when we're talking about this, when if you're watching this, what role do you want to play, and what role are you expecting out of your partner? And like you had mentioned, you need to be clear with that up front.
Up front, definitely.
So like I said, the foundation is correctly laid. What role do you want to play?
Hmm.
What role do you want your partner to play? Now, find a person who's going to play that role for you and play that role for them.
Right. And then the expectations.
So,
The
what do you say when you say
people
expectations?
people are coming in with expectations from the other person,
Hmm.
and some of them are unrealistic.
Okay.
Okay. Um, because maybe that person is not able to meet that expectation that you want. Okay. So the expectations in a relationship have to be clear as well.
So yeah. So would you say that a lot of expectations are uncommunicated, unexpressed?
Definitely.
Yeah, I've definitely seen that within my
I
short
don't,
stint of dating. That
yeah,
definitely leads to the downfall. Is having an expectation, not voicing that, and expecting that person to act in accordance to exactly the way you want. When in reality, if they don't know, then they don't know.
exactly. And that is really key, because what, really, if you look at it, like you're saying, what role do you want to play? And in that role, what is the expectation? Okay. And then it's the respect thing, because um, I just don't know. People only take respect so far. And in this, I say is, okay, do I respect myself enough to know that if I'm in a relationship, I'm committed to this person? as long as I'm with this person, I'm going to be committed to this person. Okay? I'm not going to be looking around for somebody else or, oh, look at that one. No.
Look at that one. Grandma.
I'm,
That sounds terrible, Grandma.
I mean, because there's so much to look at. There really is.
You're right.
But everything can look good. It's like when you put a child in a candy store, all the candy looks good. There's not one bad candy in there. But, you know, I think when we're talking about relationships, there's so much out there. So the expectations are something that have to be clearly defined. You know, what do you expect out of your relationship? What do you want to see? What do you want from that person? You need to be able to talk about those types of things. When it comes to respect, like I said, it's about, I say respect as far as being committed in the relationship. Okay? And then let's say the expectation of faithfulness isn't met by the other person. Let's say they do you wrong.
Slimy behavior. Come on now.
Hey, okay.
Slimy behavior,
That's
fellas.
definitely slimy. That's just low. But again, I think we've all seen it somewhere close to us, and I mean,
Definitely
it's out
seen it.
there. It's out there.
It's definitely out
And
there.
it's prevalent. It's all over the place.
Sadly.
Sadly, but true. Okay. And so my thing is, if you're in a committed relationship, again, are you really committed? Are you really committed? Because if you're in a relationship, commitment, and I'm not talking marriage here.
Slimy.
I'm just talking a relationship where boyfriend, girlfriend, if you want to call it that, are we committed? Are we wanting to really make this work? What are we looking to get out of this relationship? What are we willing to put into the relationship? Again, having that type of discussion with the person that you're interested in is really, really important. And if you start to have those discussions and your words are falling on deaf ears, then maybe that's not the person for you.
That's for sure. That's for sure.
I mean, yeah, because there's a lot of that too. Sometimes maybe one person is willing to um, put forth the effort to discuss those types of things, what their expectations are, letting the other person know, hey, I'm truly committed to this. I want to see us, go forward together, and do things together. Share adventures, whatever it may be. But sometimes there's people who probably can't voice what they want. Maybe they don't know what they want out of their relationship. Again, you have to really start asking those questions, people. Both people need to be asking questions, because if the other person isn't clear, maybe you don't need to be there.
So yeah, what that comes down to is just evaluating the character that is in front of you. If they're, that's just okay. That's just knowing yourself, knowing what you want, and knowing if that person also did the same type of work that you put in to come to the conclusions that you came to. That's, I would say, it's something you can see within a first maybe 3 or 4 interactions,
Mm-hmm.
whether that person is, like I said, clear and concise with what they want. If they're lacking in some areas within their perspective, you can definitely see that very, very early on. We are an hour in.
Ooh,
That's the quickest hour I think I felt, fellas.
jeez.
That is the quickest hour.
I was just warming up.
Exactly. This is why we're going to have her back on plenty of times, because
Well,
we could do this for 4 hours and still have another 4 hours.
and we're probably still going to do this even after we're done, because
Oh, yes.
there's still more to talk about.
Yes, of course. There's always going to be plenty to talk about. But yeah, I think I don't want to get into this topic. I want to wait till
Does anybody have any questions out there that they want to throw our way?
I'm gonna save this. I'm gonna save this other topic. I want to
Mm-hmm.
talk about that with D.
Okay.
Yeah, if you guys have any questions or comments regarding things we were talking about, whether it resonates with you or whether it doesn't, make sure you go to leave in the comments as well.
Yep. And shout out to everyone who's watching. Just want to say hi.
There you go. There you go.
Yeah. But oh, I can't think of anything better than just sitting here and chatting away.
Exactly. It's well spoken, champs ground. Exactly, Kate. Exactly. Exactly. KJ come in clutch, of course.
Mhm. Yeah. Well,
Yeah, if you guys have any questions regarding that, KJ, if you have any questions, GDP, if you have any questions, make sure you go and let us know. What was I gonna say?
oh, I know. There's
Queen Bree, come on now. Shout out to Bree. Shout out to Bree.
yeah,
We gotta have her back on very very soon. We gotta have her back on.
definitely. Definitely.
Baylor. Shout out to
Mm.
Baylor. Do you remember Baylor from the gym?
Yes.
Yeah, she's in here.
Oh, how about
Appreciate
that?
her
How you
stopping by. Appreciate
doing?
her stopping by.
Yeah.
You gotta. If you just got in here, you gotta rewatch. You gotta rewatch the last hour. Wow, that's all I gotta say. Yeah, but appreciate her stopping by though. Going forth with this. All right, let's see. Let me see. Let me see what else I got. Let's see what else I got. Man, yeah. We definitely, you definitely got pretty deep. Got pretty deep into those conversations. Um.
Well, but I do have to say though, um,
Okay, go ahead.
I'm just so thrilled to see that people now are also, how can I say, I think they're ready. I think they're ready for something new because I see so much of your generation that have ideas that at, at my age back then,
Mm-hmm.
um, we didn't have those kind of thoughts. Like you're at your age now, you're years, and I'm speaking for you and for a lot of your age group, especially all the ones that I've seen who have been here with you.
Mm-hmm.
Um, deep thoughts, definitely deep thoughts. They're thinking more for sure. I think only thing that's needed is some good guidance. But the thoughts are there. The
Hey,
thought
Grandma been woke.
process.
Let's give it 1,000. Grandma been woke by herself.
But again, um, uh, I'm so thrilled to see your generation right now doing so many fantastic things. I think of D, who's out there,
Shout out to D. If you're not watching
working
this live, if
working
you're
his
watching this,
magic.
appreciate it.
Yeah,
Yeah, working his magic. You already
yeah,
know.
he's working his magic and spitting out his rap and his music.
Shout out to D. Shout out to D,
Um,
man.
and he's keeping it real. He's doing his thing, and
Tapped in, fellas. Tapped in.
Brianna's out there. She's working away. I mean, she's just doing her thing, and just so many of you out there just really trying to make a difference. And again, I think that I want to uh, put a shout out to all of the older generation, um, because I think that we have a lot to give to our youth. We have a lot to offer them, and I think that we need to step up and we need to be there for them so that they can ask us questions, so that we can give them direction, so we can give them advice. At the end of the day, they will take what they need and they'll throw the rest away.
You'll
But
do the same thing, though. Realistically,
but
that's how
yeah,
advice goes, anyways, right?
yeah, that's how it is. But you know what? I really think that we all have a role to play, males and females. Okay, whatever role you decide you want to play is all right. But let's give it our best. Let's always put our best foot forward and give to the rest.
I agree.
Yeah.
Fantastic, fantastic. Yeah, so we're gonna go ahead and wrap it up here in a minute. I appreciate everyone for stopping by. If you have any comments or things you want us to talk about before we wrap it up, make sure to leave in the comments. Yes, I will definitely have my grandma back on. Like I said, the more we cook up the conversations, pretty much what I will say is this: everything that I've written down, we've covered with just asking one question. It fell into every other category. So, like I said, if there's a topic that you want us to talk about right now, or on a future podcast, make sure you go and let us know. Because like I said, we got plenty of game for you guys, and we definitely should be trying to give it out, because people need it for sure.
Yeah, I think we kind of covered a lot of ground.
We did.
We kind of took off in all kind
We
of
covered we
directions.
covered we covered a whole lot though. We covered a whole lot.
Yeah, I think we did. But
I'm trying to see if I have anything else that I wanted to finish up with.
okay. Or if there's anyone who has any questions, please feel free. Any comments?
Okay, so okay. Hey, Shatanana, Shatanana.
Hey, how you doing, Loopy? See, that's what I'm talking about. Now that's a lady of substance right there.
Right there, exactly. I
There
agree
you
with you. I
go.
agree with you. One thing I wanted to mention as well, because I didn't mention this earlier. So when it comes down to admirable women, right? I wouldn't say in society, like through celebrities and stuff like that, I wouldn't say that there's that many admirable women, but the women that are worth admiring, in my opinion, are the ones that you actually know. Like for example, my grandma, definitely an admirable woman. My mom, definitely an admirable woman.
She is.
My nana, shout out to nana,
Yes,
definitely an admirable woman.
definitely.
Like I say, something that I observed all these Bree as well. Shout out to Bree as well, admirable woman.
Yes, indeed.
One thing that I will say with all these, there's a commonality between all you guys, and I feel like this is a lacking thing within society, and it's, I would say, willing to make a sacrifice. I feel
Mm,
like this makes you guys all great at what you guys do. You guys are willing to make the sacrifices and pick and choose your battles, essentially, right? A sacrifice is going to be needed for everyone, but I feel like the way you guys are willing to make a sacrifice says a lot about your character, and makes you admirable, because you know you guys know what role you need to fulfill in order to have a well conducted life, if that makes sense.
yes, and I think that pretty much what you're saying is what we've been talking about all along. It's like knowing who you are, knowing what you're bringing into the relationship. Again, whether it's parent, child, friend, neighbor, your husband, wife, whatever relationship you are engaging with.
Hmm.
Okay, um, what are you bringing? What are you doing? Okay, sacrificing for family, sacrificing to keep your relationship. All of these things, yes, they are sacrifices, but it starts with the self. That we know that we're willing to do these things. It's it's uh it's not a choice. It is what we do because we already know that nobody else is going to step in to do it. It's our job to do it. I could easily say, "Hey, um, why do I have to care about what that person does? It's not my business." Well, maybe it's not, but maybe that person doesn't have someone who can mentor them. You know, um, it's up to me. It really is. It's my decision. It's who I am. And ultimately, if you want to be a person who people will look up to, you have to demonstrate. You have to show them
Yep, lead by example. Yep.
exactly that you are willing to do whatever it takes. And that means whatever it takes. And the sacrifice is in doing whatever it takes. If you're in a committed relationship, it requires work, it requires effort, it requires being there for that person, it requires you uplifting that person. um any relationship.
I agree.
Yeah.
One of the final points that I wanted to make before we go ahead and end it off is going to be this right here. So, I'm sure you see this as well, Grandma. More than ever, you see women who are very high career oriented women.
Mm.
Um, and that could be good for the individual life. But I do feel like the family, wanting to put family first. I feel like this is something, and maybe this is my observation of younger women, but whatever the case is, this is something that I see within my generation of women. Maybe I would say up to about 30. They're unwilling to put family first. It goes career, family, relationships, all this, being a wife, being whatever. I feel like they put it second, and obviously that has a hindering effect on today's society. Um, the question I'm trying to ask is, for those women that put family second, what would be your advice to them? Because in my opinion, I do not think that is um a wise decision. Is a career needed? Of course it's needed, but at the same time, they're sacrificing something, and it like I said, has a hindering effect.
Well, first of all, I'd have to say, make sure you have your priorities straight. Okay. If
Okay.
you decide to have a family, that is your priority. Yeah, I know you want to be a doctor or a lawyer. That's great if that's what you're doing, but you might have to miss court one day because you know what? Your child is sick. You don't get to brush it off on the daycare center. You can't just say, well, let them deal with it. Okay. So I would say that if you're going to focus on having a career and that's what you want to do, then that's great. That's good for you. But if you're going to choose to have a family, that automatically is going to have to shift gears for you because that should be your number one priority. Your family has to come first. Everything else can come after. Work, careers, those things, they're always going to be there and they're not always going to need you. There are other people who can jump right in if you're not there. And I know we like to think that we're people that, you know, we're just indispensable, that we are the ones who have to be there. We got to be the one to do it because nobody else is going to do it like us. But again, if you have a family, get your priorities in order, and your family is your priority. That's number one. After that, yeah, go ahead. Go
Okay.
and go to court. Go take care of all the sick people. Go and do whatever you have to do. But your family has to come first.
Like I said, I 1,000% agree with that. Um, I don't see women nowadays making the sacrifices that they need to make, and I do not see them um, having their priorities correct. Um, and
Yeah.
I understand the need to be independent. Um, you don't want to rely on a man. I understand that mindset. Um, I want to get your opinion on that. Right now, you see women having that. Like I said, I want to do it for myself. I do not want to rely on a man. Um, what else? What other mindsets do they have?
Well, I mean, I do believe that, you know, a woman has to be prepared for everything, regardless. Okay. And I say that because, I mean, uh, you know, back in the older generations, um, the male took care of everything in the, outside of the home, finances, all of those things were taken care of by the man. And the woman was at home and she was taking care of the home and the kids and the meals and everything like that. Then all of a sudden, the husband would die and the woman was left with everything and not a clue how to support her family,
So you said prepare,
what
be
fine.
prepared for everything.
So I do believe that as a woman, yes, you have different roles to play, in the sense of I'm a mother, I'm a friend, I'm a mentor, I'm this, I'm that. But within that, you have to be an individual person who feels capable of handling things. Now, that does not mean that because I depend on me to take care of whatever I have to take care of, that it negates something that someone else can bring to help me in the sense of if my husband wants to help me with something, um sure, come on over and help me. I need that help. I could use that help.
You don't need
Okay,
it.
I
You
don't
could
need
use it.
it, but I could use it.
Okay.
Okay, that's the best way to say it. Yes. But again, independent women are are sometimes, I think, closed-minded, because it's just about them and what they can do. And of course, I'm not saying that I'm not down for women. Yes, I am. But women, you're more than what you think you are. So don't just say, "Oh, I'm going to be superwoman and I don't need a man. I don't need anybody. It's just all about me." No, because you are a product of everybody else that's with you, around you. And I say that because it's my family that builds me up. I build them up, they build me up. And that's the way it works. So for women who want to be independent, what does that independence look like? Is it all about you and you don't need anybody? Or is it, I'm confident in my abilities? I'm confident in the fact that I can make decisions for myself. And if I have to make difficult decisions, that I can do whatever it requires for me to do. Um, that's what I think we need to see in so-called independent women. Independent doesn't mean it's all about me. It's me and I do for me, and that's all. It's just all about me. With independence comes responsibility.
I agree with you. I agree with you. Yeah, she's spitting facts as usual. I can't stop saying that. All
Yeah.
right. Yeah. So I appreciate everyone for stopping by. It doesn't look like anybody has, or they've already said everything that they wanted to say. So we got 6 people in here. I appreciate everyone for stopping by. Um, even though we've been spitting the whole time, just spitting straight facts, Grandma, if you can give the people one piece of advice that they can take away from this podcast, it doesn't have to be exactly related with what we talked about, but
Hmm.
just in general, um, what would you like to leave them off on to take on for the rest of their week?
Well, I think one of the things that I would want everyone to do is to do a self analysis, to really think about themselves, to really look at um, what they're all about, how they are moving in their circle. And by that, I mean, how are they with themselves? Are they okay? Like, um, do they know what they want? Do they know even what they're going to do this week? Like, do they have any goals? Do they have anything in sight as to what their life is even about? Is it just, oh, I'll just wake up tomorrow and see what the day brings? Or is it, you know what, tomorrow, this is what I'd like to do? And how does that affect everybody else around you? Because we're not by ourselves. We are with other people. We are one another. So all I can say is go forward, be true to yourself, be there for the rest, show the show the world a good mind, a happy person, a beautiful heart, um, and at the end of the day, just a great life. You know, show the world that life is beautiful, and go out there and make your life wonderful, and make the world around you a better place to be.
Well, that sounds lovely, Grandma. You're, like I said, spitting facts as usual. Definitely something that people needed to hear. Definitely a podcast that the people needed for sure. The piece of game I will leave you guys off on is this right here. And this is something that I read to myself every single morning within why I woke up in the morning. It is to live my truest and most authentic and genuine self. This is advice that I would recommend to everybody because there's only one of you, and you need to be that representation of yourself. Do not try to be like somebody else. If there's qualities that you want to be like, strive for those qualities. But at the end of the day, do not live a fake life because this life is too short to be fake. Live your
Mhm.
most true and authentic and genuine self, and everything else can be discarded because we need people like you to act like you and not to try to be like somebody else. that is a piece of game I have. I appreciate everyone for stopping by. This was the Life of a Champ podcast, episode number 54, featuring Grandma. Obviously,
Thank
on
you.
today's podcast, spit a lot of game. If you came in late, make sure you go ahead and rewatch the podcast. Also, I want to leave you guys off on a few words. Make sure you go ahead and follow me on TikTok. I've been posting about 3 clips every single. I'm posting 3 clips a day for a few days. Other than that, like I said, I appreciate y'all. Hope you guys have a good rest of your night, and make sure you take the advice that we gave you today.
Keep it real, people.
Keep it real. There you
Keep it
go.
real.
All right, we'll go ahead and end it off. You guys.